If you've ever asked yourself how to do this whole social media thing and get business and drive your business in an authentic way, you're going to want to watch this video because I have Tim Scheib with me and he's going to share everything he does with his social media strategies, what works for him, what successes he's had with it, and you're going to want to be here for it. My name's Alisia Krastel, and if you're here for the first time, make sure you hit the subscribe button because we are all about growing your real estate business with powerful strategies. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I can't wait to dive into what your business looks like and what you do.
Well, thank you.
Welcome. All right. First question is, you are on social media platforms. So tell us a little bit about what your favorite platforms are and where you're seeing the most success with clients.
Yeah, so Facebook has been my number one. So at the very beginning, Facebook was the one thing that I just kind of stumbled onto. Okay, so I'm living by myself with 3 kids in a 600 square foot apartment, and I'm just laying there in my air blow up mattress in front of my TV trying to figure things out. And I'm going through my computer. I'm like, what's that? Facebook page? I guess I'll sign up for a Facebook page. So I did that. And then as time went, just messing with it, I realized that this thing is like ridiculous, right? At the time, $20 could get me in front of 20,000 people. And I'm like, whoa. And obviously, if I'm living in a 600 square foot apartment with 3 girls, I don't really have a whole lot of extra cash. So I decided that I'm just going to take a leap here and start putting decent amount of money in there if I have any extra. And as time went, I learned that you can invite people who like your post. As time went, I realized I can ask people to reach out to me and boost it. And I'm just like, wow, this thing's crazy. So my page grew really, really quick in the beginning because I was one of the first 2. So Facebook is like a really powerful tool for me. It's like my biggest billboard, right? Like that's the thing. But as we all know, Facebook has slowed down dramatically. A lot of people have moved to different platforms like Instagram. And we push really hard on Instagram. It's a tough one. Like Instagram is one, I call it like the fake social media platform because it just seems like it's a world that's not reality, right? Like I love authentic content, and Instagram is getting there with reels and getting there with stories. But the explore page, I mean, I don't have a 6-pack ab and ripped chest and all that kind of stuff. And I think 99.9% of Americans don't. But on Instagram, 80% of Americans look like they do. So Instagram, I struggle with, but I like the reels. I like stories. TikTok has been something that's really taken off for me. I think I got on it in 2019, had a lot of success with it. But again, I love how they can focus on your algorithms where you can get the stuff that you are interested in. And I also love the fact that it is authentic. You know, a lot of it's authentic, not all of it, but a lot of it's authentic. And YouTube is another one that I focus on. I've been focusing hard on that. I don't know if you did this or not, but if you go back to my very first YouTube, oh, they're so bad. Like my very first ones were like, I love the song Home by Blake Shelton. And I would put that on all my house videos, and they were just photos. They were like slideshows. And then it evolved into more video stuff and me talking. And, that was back in maybe like 2011 or 12. So I've been working on YouTube forever. I have so many videos, but it's so difficult, and you have mastered it. And that's why I like this opportunity to talk to you, because you know a lot about things that I don't.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
So if you have your worst video, your first videos are your worst videos is what they say. So that's
Yep.
that's everyone.
Yep.
So if you had to pick one of them, would you still pick Facebook, or which social media would you lean into as your pillar right now?
My pillar, like for the local buyers and sellers, it would probably have to be, honestly, it's almost a toss up between Instagram and Facebook, because I know the number of people who watch my stories on Instagram. That's kind of a big one. I do a thing every Friday. I committed myself to showing my results and showing, what I'm doing as far as business. And, they say you don't know people are watching you, but they definitely are. And that video series that I do proves that, because I have so many people that ask me, hey, you going to hit your 100? You going to hit your 100? And that's really cool. So I
And you
say
do
that
the same
Instagram,
stuff on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or how do you differentiate it? Since we talked
I,
about social being
I
different.
do, differentiate it. I mean, the same things will hit all of them, but not all of them will hit all of them.
Okay.
So like TikTok, you can be a little more risque. You can be a little more, have a little more fun with. Instagram, the reels part of it, you can have a little more fun with. I don't pin all of my reels to my face or to my grid, my main page of Instagram. But sometimes I'll share those reels on stories if they're fun or whatever. But YouTube, I don't put as many on YouTube Shorts. I put some on there, but not all of them. And a lot of it has to do just with time. Just with time.
You mentioned the 100 story thing. Tell everybody what that is. What have you been doing?
It's Friday, and I'm back with an update on my attempt to help 100 families buy or sell a home in 2022. All right, this week we had two. Wait, no, never mind. Both closings got delayed to next week. So therefore, we had 0 closings this week. Delays are happening. In this case, we have someone who got pre-approved at 3.4%, and it took a while to get the house. So it was back in I don't know when it was. Maybe it was in March or something. I've never been a person who likes to put my numbers out there. I don't like to. I just feel like that's kind of boasting a little bit, it's bragging. And then I saw Emily McAllister do it. Excuse me. Do you know who Emily McAllister is?
Yeah. Yep. She's in North Carolina, I think.
Yes. So now, holy cow, there's a lot of people that she did. It was cute. I mean, it was a good video. And then I started following it, and I'm like, I care about her. Like, I care that she does well. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's not bragging. I'm like, it also will hold me accountable each week and give me an opportunity to have something that keeps me driving and pushing and pushing and pushing. So I put a pretty hefty goal out there. It's a goal I know I can reach, but it's going to be close. And it was her video that got me looking at it. I saw some other TikTok agents, the rip off and repeat thing. They are trying to do it, and maybe they didn't even see her do it. It's not like a groundbreaking thing, right? It's not. But when I saw hers, I really felt connected to her. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make this board. So my assistant, I was like, hey, I got a job for you. And I went and got this board, and they got everything out and they marked it up for me. I was like, I need 100 spots. She's like, well, it just comes out to 99. I'm like, fine, we'll just add one more on top as a champion. If I hit it, it's right there. And then from there, when I commit to something, I stick with it. That's the one thing about social media that I feel like if you don't stick to something, if you don't commit yourself to something, then it's just not going to work. So I've stuck to it, and here it is, almost November.
Weekly updates, or you give them, or daily updates?
They're every Friday.
Every Friday.
Every Friday, I give my closed homes. And so Emily did it with it. So I went back and I looked at her video again, because I may or may not be having her on my show, but she would put a sticky note up, and then she would put a house up for the sale. And I was just like, oh, maybe she's putting the sticky note up because that's pending, and the house is when it goes to closed. I just put up my closed transactions because that's when it actually counts. We all know that if you count your pending, some of those may not happen. So when they close, I put them up. And there's weeks where I have 0 closings, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, but I sold 4 houses, so we're good.
You're good.
So yep.
You hit something on there. You're like, I don't want to brag. And that's probably one of the most common things I hear is like, well, I don't want to brag about myself. I don't want to be that agent. And there is a way to do it. So if you see his TikTok, we'll put his handle below. Look at how he does it, because you do a really good job of showing evidence of success, which is the sold homes and the actual pictures of the house, little Polaroid pictures. Yep. And then the connection of the people, because you tell the story of the house and what went through. And sometimes you'll say, yeah, I sold this person's house, and then now I sold this one. I know his story, and I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. Clearly I'm paying attention. I'm in a whole separate side of the country. Yep. So I'm sure have some of your clients looked at it and been like, hey, we're rooting for you. Let's go.
Oh, there's some people I know that they sit there and wait to see their house go up on it, and that's fun. You could celebrate together with that. Right. And I don't really tag any of my clients on that video, but I'll put them on my story and maybe tag them on my story. I try not to dive in because it's private to some people, not everybody has that same, I'm going to put everything out there like we might, but yeah, that I appreciate your comment. And I kind of fell into the story part of it. The first time I had like one closing, I'm like, I got to do one. Well, I'm just going to tell a story about this one because it's a good story,
Yeah.
because we do have a lot of good stories in these. I mean, I haven't even told a quarter of them.
Yeah.
I think it was
And you're not,
last year
I
I
haven't
did.
really heard you give much personal information. Some people say, well, I don't want to give their information. He's just telling the story of the transaction of, I think
Yep.
occasionally you'll say, yeah, I've worked with this person a couple times, or like I met this person here, but you're not like Sally and Jim, congratulations. I'd like
Yeah.
that at all.
And I mean, we all have stories of, someone got divorced and they need to move on, and it was a bad situation, and we feel really good because we helped them sell their home and we helped them get a new home. I wouldn't tell a story like, hey, this person got divorced, but man, I'm so happy because she can see the light at the end of the tunnel, because someone's might get mad about that, right? Like whether it's the person you sold the house to or maybe the ex-spouse. So you really have to be careful on what stories you tell. But one fun thing that I did last October was every day I committed myself to telling a story every day. And then I was able to tell a story of things that happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that no one would be able to equate back to anybody particularly. So that was kind of fun. And I actually thought about, one of them popped up on my memories and I was like, oh, I did that last year at this time. That was tough. That was a tough one because I like to deer hunt. I go sit in a tree stand and do all that kind of stuff. So I'm like having to do stories in camo and but I stuck with it. I did it every day.
And
So
your people are seeing who you are. You're taking people on the journey. You're educating them. You're taking them on the journey. You're letting them be part of it. So if you're posting on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, how long is all this taking you? And how do you balance it? Because you mentioned you had 5 kids. I have 3 kids. You have two
yep.
more than I do. So how are you balancing it
Yep.
all?
I work really hard. It's a lot of time. I mean, kids go down to bed. We hired a marketing person for a little bit, and I wanted to really help grow my Instagram because I wanted Instagram to grow as Facebook is fading, right? And he's like, why are you posting at 9:30 at night? That's the worst time you could put something on Instagram. I'm like, cause dude, I had no time during the day. My kids are in bed and I'm like half falling asleep, misspelling words, trying to get something out there. And that's literally how it is. Like, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I take a half hour to 45 minutes to wake up before I work out. That half hour to 45 minutes, I'm checking my social media. I'm looking for ideas. I'm coming up with a plan. And that's it, before anybody gets up. So when I hit the day at 8 o'clock and my plan is already in place, what videos I'm going to do. And then I typically will edit stuff on my phone quick. And if I can, I save things in drafts and wait for the right time to hit publish.
Awesome.
And do I know the right time? Absolutely not. But I do know when one takes off, I'm like, well, that might have been the right time. We'll try that one again.
It's the cumulative effort. It's not like
Yep.
you're not going to get it perfect. Especially you're not going
Correct.
to get every single video perfect timed out. You just have to,
Correct.
yeah.
So I've heard a couple of people talk about Repurpose IO and you as well. That's something that I need to look into because that might make it a little easier for me. But it is definitely a taxing job. And it's not one that I can hire because it is so specific to me. I want it to be me. Because if it's not me, then it's just another Instagram page, right? Like I want it to be authentic. And if you don't do it yourself, it's really hard for someone else to be authentic for you.
It is a great point. You cannot outsource your voice. Like that's what you've got.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
one of the most valuable things that you have. Outsource the editing, outsource like the posting it, but the actual creating it and what your thoughts are, that's you, no matter who you are, you should not be outsourcing that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of companies that they'll help you with your Instagram. And I looked into those years ago and I'm like, they're posting the same thing for you as they do for these other real estate agents with your logo on it. And I'm like, that's not what I'm about.
Yeah.
And I think the majority of the people who actually know me understand that. And the people who don't know me, like on TikTok, that's a whole different world. Like Instagram and TikTok, there's so many people that aren't from this area that don't really have any idea who I am. Then, they easily attack you, and you just got to be able to brush it off.
Which one would be your favorite one that gets the best results, do you think?
Uh, as results, so there's two different scenarios there. Results as far as like getting clients, probably go with Facebook.
Okay.
That's probably the most client driven, like lead capturing type of social media for me.
And what gets you
We
the
have
most
68
to doing that? What is the most effective that you do?
listings, like putting listings out and boosting listings. So there's people that put, I'll hear agents say, well, I put $5, I boosted it for $5. I'll put like $300 on one. I'm not afraid to put $500 on one because I want more people to see me and remember me. So in 2013 or 12, when I started my page and I started boosting stuff, this is exactly what I said. I said, holy cow, I can get in front of this many people. I'm going to put as much of my money that I can into this. So when the market crashes in 2019, people remember me and they call me. Well, that ended up like my business ramped up in 2015, and it went like it doubled and tripled 2015, 16. I went from selling 5 million a year in volume to 10 million to 18 million to 28 million, like just crazy amounts of business that I never thought I would do. And I can't pinpoint it to Facebook, but one thing I can say is when you market, you have to have multiple layers, right? Like I think you may have talked about layers at some point. The layers, the way I look at my layers is I'm going to be on Facebook, and then they're going to see me over here on Zillow on one of my listings. And then they're going to see me on Instagram, and then they might see me on TikTok. And I have a radio ad. That's a funny ad, but it's one ad. And I've had one ad, and a lot of people remember that ad because the guy that does it, he's a local YouTube celebrity. He had one video that went viral, and then he had a number after that go viral. And he's a comedian, and I only call him a comedian because he hates that, but he's an actor, and he hates it when you call him comedian, but he's terribly funny. And he does his ad on the radio where it's called Bet Your House, and he will pick a football game or something, and he'll make a bet on it. And he'll go into just crazy scenarios as to why he's choosing somebody. And he screams the whole time, and he yells Bet Your House at the end.
Okay.
But all of those things combined, I feel like that's why my business ramped up. And I can't say it was because of Facebook. I can't say it was because of this or that, but I know Facebook was the main driver because I got more eyeballs on Facebook than anything else.
You collectively turned up the volume on everything that you did,
Yes.
which
Yep.
leads us into like your branding. This is all part of who you are and your brand as a company. Can you talk
Yep.
a little bit about what you do for branding, and have you seen it take hold?
Yep. So branding wise, we do some advertising locally. We support local, schools, and you get the call to be on the posters and all that kind of stuff. So we do all that. The biggest branding thing that we do is for a long time we would rent out the entire swimming pool in town, and we'd invite anybody and everybody to the pool. And that was a lot of fun. The only struggle was the weather, right? You plan this thing and the weather craps out on you, then what? Well, we transitioned into the pumpkin patch, and that's been a big hit. Having a pumpkin patch has been a big deal. So, like being able to get on social media and be consistent and do a lot of videos, do a lot of boosting of the post to get out in front of people. I graduated from town here, got a number of kids. My signs have been around for a long time. So, between my signs being seen in everybody's yard, my kids, and people like, oh, yeah, your dad's a real estate agent. Like, just all the dots connecting has been the way that I've branded myself, and put myself out there as who I am solidifies that brand.
How did you get over that? Because some people have a hard time putting themselves out there.
I think it's in my blood.
Okay, so you didn't have a hard time doing it.
I've got, so I've, I don't really know. Like I went to college to be a photography teacher. and I wanted to be a basketball coach. I played college basketball. I was like, this is my gig. The school in Iowa that I went to is known, it used to be called the Iowa Teachers College. So I wanted to be a teacher since 7th grade and a basketball coach. And so I loved photography in high school. And I'm like, I want to do that. So when I get into college, in order to be a photography teacher, you have to go through all the art stuff. Like I can sketch pretty well, but never shaded. I've never done all that. I was also an athlete, and being an athlete in the art program, first of all, they're two different personalities. I had one teacher that liked me, and I didn't do, I never, I did, it's just, I had that stigma on me as the jock, right? But it takes so much time. Like my sketching class, you had to do 8 sketches on these huge pieces of paper that took 4 hours a pop. Well, I mean, holy smokes. So I transitioned out of that in college, but I love the camera and I still love the camera. And when I got into real estate in 2004, pictures were horrible on listings. The internet was soft. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have the best pictures of my listings because I love photography. I had a nice camera. I knew how to use Photoshop. So I focused on that. And that was something I worked on hard in my early years. I was in my 20s, right? But as time went, and then all of a sudden 12 and 13 and 14 hit and YouTube hits and videos start coming, I'm like, that's pretty awesome. I like doing videos and I enjoy being in front of the camera. My oldest brother, I think 8, 9, or 10, I was in high school plays because my oldest brother was huge into drama. And he's actually a director. There's a musical called Bad Out of Hell. It's after Meatloaf.
Okay.
Uh, it's his music. It's a musical, and the writer was Jim Steinman, the guy that wrote the album for Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell. So it's a huge production. It was off Broadway for a while. It was over the West End over in London. Now it's in Vegas. So like it's a massive production. So the theater, he brought me into the theater part, and I love watching that. I've been to many of his plays and his musicals and operas. So all of that kind of fascinated me, and I love the camera. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to transition into, I still love photography. Don't get me wrong, but now I transition into video and it's been pretty easy for me.
If we wiped out everything that you've learned about social media and you had to start over, what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself starting over?
Get after it. You know, there's two rules of like some people say it's all about good content. It is 100% good content. I agree with that. They say shoot one video is way more powerful as long as the content's good. And then there's some people that say as much as you can, just do it, just take it, put it out there, put it out there, put it out there. Tom Ferry, Todd Collins, Gary Vee, all those guys are like, just put it out there. I'm more on the just put it out there because that's just how I operate. I'm very in tune with the way they think. I also know that I see too many agents that are worried about it and then they never post it. And, you know, it's like my video editor, God bless him. He is a great video editor, great videographer, but everything has to be perfect. Right. So it takes an extra 3 days. I'm like, it doesn't matter. As long as it's got good volume, the colors, whether it's this shade or this shade of blue, like I don't even know I don't even know when they talk about coloring on editing, if that's what they mean. Right. But
Yeah.
the fact is, if it's clear, it's got good volume and it's cut to the music, the beat, whatever, boom, good. We're good to go. We don't have to spend 6 hours fixing the coloring on one video.
To be perfect. Yeah.
You don't have to, especially in today's day and age. So for me, I feel it's more about getting content out there. If I put 10 pieces out and one of them is content that resonates, sweet. Well, what if I would have had 10 ideas and I chose one that I thought was great, but that one that I thought was great doesn't go? I might have missed out on an opportunity because I chose this one instead of this one. Now, if I put them all out there, these may be irrelevant, but this one, boom, we got it. It's gone. And I learned that from TikTok. Like, I mean, I put some videos out. I'm like, yeah, this is a good one. And it's like, I got 30,000 followers and I got 300 views. What?
How do you come up with
Right.
ideas? Like, do you have a process, or do you just write them down as you think of them? Like, well, how do you do that?
My mind goes and goes and goes. So I'll hold a meeting with my team and I'll be talking. I'm like, that's good content. Like that's a piece of content. That's a piece of content. That's a piece of content. And so I actually just decided, hey, I'm just going to start videotaping my meetings. And after the meeting, I'm going to go through and get to the part where I thought that was good content, and I'm going to pull it out and use it as a piece. Like we could literally, I watched Gary Vee back in like 2013, 14, 15, back when he was really starting to ramp up the Media, right?
Yeah.
And I loved the fact that he had D-Rock, which is why I hired a videographer. And I learned a lesson really quick. If they're spending the whole day videotaping you, trying to get snippets, they don't have time to edit.
Yeah.
And if they hand that off to somebody else and they've got to watch you for an entire day to figure out what part to take out. So you just kind of have to do it yourself. And when you know you got a good piece of content, you got to say, hey, flip on the camera quick. Let's go. Let's do it right now. Quick, boom, boom, boom. And actually, I've gotten to the point now where I have a second assistant. She's a licensed assistant, but I have her go with me with a marketing phone because the phone does just as good a quality as the camera does. I mean, the camera can be great, but the vertical stuff is harder with a camera than it is just an iPhone. So
Yeah.
I just say, hey, that's a good piece of content. Flip it on. Let's do that again. And it never comes out as good the second time, but you know, it still works.
When you say people are watching you, like they're not watching you, but they're watching you and they're noticing, how
Yep.
often do you get, or do you have any stories about people saying like, yes, talking to you about what you've created, but they never commented on the social media platform?
Oh, all the time. I mean, it's like on a daily basis and it's fun. Like I have certain clients I know watch all my stuff. So sometimes I'll actually like not, I'll throw stuff out there to see if they take the hook. You know, just am I going to get a message from this person today? Or are they going to put fire on that video? You know, there's things where I appreciate them very much that they take the time to watch my videos. And more of that comes in Instagram stories. Instagram stories is a big way to have constant contact with your clients because they may not see your TikTok. Because as you know, TikToks don't go out to everybody. They'd have to go to your profile specifically to find you. But Instagram and Facebook stories, I post stories on Instagram and they automatically go on Facebook. They
Do you
watch
tag your
those.
location or the places you're at, or
Mm-hmm. Yep.
what's your system for doing your story that people should follow?
So now I don't know if they should follow it,
Well, what do
but
you do that
I
works for you?
I always put my location. The location on a story is always added in. I try and tag certain, like if I'm at a restaurant, I'll tag the restaurant, or if I'm, you know, whatever the case may be. Like when we did our pumpkin patch, I did an Instagram story or I did a reel, and the lady come running outside. She's like, "I just watched your reel. That was hilarious." And I'm like,
Cool.
"It's because I tagged them in it, right?" So
So
like,
important.
yeah, you have to have the location, you have to tag, and then you also have to try and put a couple relevant hashtags just because that's just what you do. I mean,
Yeah.
the more stuff you can put on there. And that's it. Like, and then I put my piece of content on there and call it good. My
Tagging your
my
location.
rule,
Go ahead.
yeah, my rule of thumb is I want 5 to 10 stories a day. If there's more than 10, fine, but I want 5 to 10. That's just mine.
On
It's
Instagram.
not perfect. Yeah, yeah. Yep, that's my goal every day, 5 to 10.
And are you posting them yourself, or is an assistant or someone else posting them?
It's a combination. So like my licensed assistant, I tell her I want five out of at least 5 a day out of her. And then whatever I do is in addition to that. So like I'll look at the end of the day what she's got and I'll be like, oh, I'll put this reel on there, or oh, I'll put this story on there, or oh, I've got this picture on my camera roll. I'm going to add this too. One that does really good is at the end of every day, I put what our current inventory is in our market. So it'll have our inventory, has new construction inventory, it has number of pending transactions for the day and sold for the day. And then I always save those into a market update featured down below. And I know people watch that. I know people watch that, and
I've seen it, so I can attest. I've seen it multiple times.
yeah, yeah, and I had someone's like, well, I don't want to do. I one of my assistants passed. She didn't want to do it all the time, and I'm like, just do it. People will watch it. Ah, okay. Well, I was right. Like people do watch it, and if you can watch it over time, then you start to understand the market yourself.
It's an evidence of success. Without saying I sold this, you could be a brand new agent and talk about the inventory and you come off looking like a pro. It's
Yes.
and it doesn't take a long time to do, does
Yeah.
it?
Which just gave me another idea, right?
Mhm.
Like doing this right now just gave me an idea, and I'm going to do it. So I'm going to write it down quick.
Sure.
But what I did early in my career, and I had one of the most successful agents in my market told me to do this. He's like, hey man, when you're bored, when you don't have anything going on, go walk through, new construction. Go walk through them, because there's two reasons. One, you learn the inventory. And number two, who's at new homes during the day? The builder.
Mhm.
Now, don't try and steal a builder from somebody, but as you walk through them, that builder's going to say, hey, can I help you? You're like, oh, I'm just a real estate agent, just checking out the inventory. Oh, what's your name? Boom. Well, when they get to that point, 10 years down the road or 5 years down the road or a year down the road, when their agent isn't doing what they want them to do and they need to hire a new one, you might be the next person they call.
Yeah.
Well,
Especially if you send a handwritten note or a card or something and cultivate that relationship.
yeah, and just being out and knowing the inventory is so valuable that like I would get. There's one time I remember specifically, I got a call and I'm walking down the street and someone's like, yeah, we're looking at this house and we're also looking at this house. Oh yeah, I know those two houses. I just walked through them. Like I literally just walked through them, and that person called me on the two houses. Like, oh, you did? I'm like, yeah. And we're just a few blocks away. Can we come down and you show? Boom, client done.
It's
And it
awesome.
was just because I was doing something. One
And
of
for
my
the one,
biggest,
don't walk through a property and not record it as long as you have permission or it's the builder or something. You don't want to do a listing that's not
I,
yours.
I mean, quite frankly, it doesn't like I can go say, hey, I'm going to go tour some newer homes. Let's go check out some cool features.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my piece of content I just wrote down. Like I can do that once a week and go through some cool homes. Be like, check out this fireplace. What do you think of this thing? I think it's gorgeous. All right, let's go hit the next place. No builder's going to care if you're showing off their product as long as you're not smack talking them.
No, I'm glad you brought up new construction because it was something I wanted to talk to you about because you do focus on new construction a little bit. I've seen some of your videos. What have
Mm-hmm.
you seen other than touring the homes? How has it helped you with new construction relationships or selling new construction? Because you said, I think in a video, you said it's almost like 50% of your market's inventory is new
Yeah,
construction.
the inventory is so. My market is much. I shouldn't say different than every other market. So in Iowa, real estate agents represent the builders. There's not builder reps. DR Horton just came to town. That's the only company that, and I guess maybe one other one copied them, but up until they came in, we didn't have builder reps. It was agents represented the builders. And so early in my career, new construction became just kind of like photography, switched to videography, real estate. I love new construction, but on the listing side of new construction, that business makes up only 10% of my business. But the one thing I like about new construction is you can market it all the time. And you get a resale, you list it and you sell it, then you have to go get another resale to market. With new construction, you got inventory, you got houses being built, you got things happening all the time. So you can have content all the time.
You got a
And
year,
yeah,
right?
I mean, and we have multiple houses going at a time. So there's always layers of homes coming. So one of the things that I did before, so this will date me a little bit, but it'll show you where my mind was. Remember when blogs became a thing?
Yeah.
Like it was like WordPress was the thing.
Yeah.
Well, I would set up a blog for each house as it was being built. And if someone was building a custom home, I would go on a weekly or biweekly basis and take photos of the house, post it inside the blog, write what's happening, what the next process, what the next steps will be. And they would share it with their friends and their family. And my idea was they would share it with their people. So then when Johnny over there's the cousin of the buyer sees that and they're like, I want to build a home. I want that. I want that level of updates and communication. Well, I use blogs for that. I would send them the address, or the blog had the address in it, and you share it with your friends and family, and you can watch the home being built and know exactly what's going on. And that blog would still be there. So like if you ever wanted to hang a picture on the wall and you're worried there's electrical wires behind there, guess what? There's photos.
That's huge. The drywall, walkthrough, taking pictures and video is a huge opportunity for people to be making
Yep.
friends.
And I currently do that on my Facebook page. Every new home that's being built, it's got its own album. And my assistant goes out, she takes pictures of each property. We update the stages and we put those photos into that album. So at the end of the build, each address has its own album from start to finish.
Do you make it private to just the clients, or is it just?
It's just on my Facebook page.
Yeah. I mean, what a
know?
way to develop relationships, get the fringe people who know your friends and sphere, plus show evidence of success. It's like all wrapped up in one.
And the only negative side to that is there's a number of people that think that I just do new construction who don't know me. And so like I'll meet somebody and they'll be like, "Oh, I thought you just did new construction. We just bought a house." I'm like, "No, that makes up 10% of my business."
Yeah.
But it is the only thing I can continue to market all the time. So that's all they see. So I have to try and make sure, and TikTok and Instagram Reels, those have helped that because I talk more about other stuff. But yeah, that's been the one thing that I learned early is like, hey, I'm doing a lot of this posts on new construction. People are going to think I only sell new homes, and that's not the case. So,
That's when what you tell people on social media, they believe, especially if you're a genuine person. And you don't have to say it a lot. Like you don't have to do 5 years of new construction. Like if you start posting regularly about it, people are going to believe that that's what you do.
Absolutely.
Same thing with price point or like type of house, like whatever you post about, they're going to associate you with that, including your brand.
And if you're saying like, "Oh, I'm just so busy, we've got so much going on," then people won't call you because they think you're too busy. "Oh, I didn't want to bother you."
Yeah.
Because as you get more, as you're in the business longer and more successful, that becomes a thing. Like, "Oh, well, I didn't want to bother you." I'm like, "Oh, whoa, 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 what?" Yeah, bother me, please.
Have you had any like fall on your face where you like, I learned the most from that failure?
Oh, I would say that the 2008, 9 time was pretty tough. That was like, the market's good. Uh, I did well. I mean, I sold like 60s, 50, 60 homes in 2007 and 8, like doing great. And then I got divorced in the middle of it. So between the divorce, the market tanking, your mental state, like I took an absolute beating. You get divorced in the high time, that means your child support's up here, and then the market goes down, and it's really easy, at least in Iowa, it's really easy to increase child support. But if you want to drop it, it's extremely difficult. And so that took a major beating on me. And so 2010 was really tough. And then in 2011, I like my mind space cleared up. I was like, okay, I'm good. I can get this. And then Facebook popped into my lap, and it's almost like I started my career over in 2010. But the difference is all the stuff I did before, they were still there. All my clients were still there. They were still my friends. And a lot of those people that bought in 6 and 7 now were able to sell in 12 and 13. So that business, along with Facebook reminding them that I'm here, really just ramped it up. So what I learned was sticking with it, never quitting. If you can be in this business, there's a friend of mine used to always say he was a multi-level marketing success. There's not many of them. He was one of them, and he is one because he's just such a motivator. But he'd always say, stick and stay. You got to stick and stay. And that's,
you said you made the decision and you evolved.
yes, you got to stick and you got to stay with it.
Good advice.
And that's the same with social media. Like if you want to be big on social media, you got to stick and you got to stay. You can't quit. You got to keep going.
Last thing, what is on your horizon? The biggest opportunity, you're like, this is my next piece of social media, or this is how I'm going to elevate it. What's on your mind the most?
Well, I did a vlog, and it was called Behind the Sign. My wife and so my wife's in the real estate business with me, and we did a thing called Behind the Sign Local. right? So we were going to different places locally once a week and doing like an edited video of us talking about certain things and what we liked about them. And people loved watching those, but those kind of faded out. And I brought Behind the Sign back as just a vlog. And I would sit in front of just like this and I would talk about something real estate related, unscripted. I would just talk for 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And then vlogs kind of went away a little bit. Like, everything goes in cycles.
Yeah.
And so I just decided, well, I'm going to start talking to some of these agents that I see on TikTok. Like, why not? This is a great opportunity to learn from people, to make connections. And so Behind the Sign season 2 is all about having these conversations, learning. Hopefully the viewers can watch them and enjoy them and get some good tidbits from them. And that's my next horizon. I really enjoy doing this. I've wanted to become a speaker. I've wanted to speak about real estate, speak about entrepreneurship, speak about, social media and all that kind of stuff. And just, that would be a blast for me. But I also know that you spend all your time focusing on that. Well, what gets you there gets lost. And if this doesn't happen, they can both crumble.
Yeah. And how do you
So,
do them both together? Layer them in.
yeah. Yeah. So as far as what's on my horizon, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, thank you for your time today. Is there any parting words you want to say?
uh, if you're just watching this for the first time, follow her. You got a lot of good information on your page.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
All right.
And thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.